All right, guys, welcome back to the Bradley and Kevin Show. Right. You guys have actually been through the course for a number of weeks now, so congratulations for making it this far. You guys are awesome. Now, here's the thing, especially after the last few modules were pretty intense, maybe you're like, oh my God, I'm on information overload right now. Plus, Bradley's telling me, oh, I should go to the Facebook groups and look for information. And then there's the podcast I should listen to. And Kevin's talking about maybe there's Elite and a group where it's a mastermind and this and that. And there's just like so much information. So there are people out there who want to tell you, no, it's too much information. You shouldn't try and spend your time. You should just try and execute. But I'm of the opinion that knowledge is important, all right? First of all, and there's not too much education. Of course, too much education is if all you do for 10 years is just study and never actually do anything. You got to have that balance, but knowledge is important. But number one, even if somebody does put the effort through, what are some of the dangers that might happen, or not dangers necessarily, what are some bad things that could happen, even though somebody has all this knowledge and education?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to execute. It is a lot of knowledge. Knowledge is power. I mean, I always believe the more you know, the more equipped you are to be prepared for all situations, good and bad. And so that's why we share so much information in there. You know, this course typically, from what I hear from other students, I've never done another course. You know, I've checked them here and there, but other students have said they've done other courses. They say that the Freedom Ticket is definitely the most information out there. But don't let that overload you. I mean, break it down. If you have to go back and review the notes or watch a module again, that's totally okay. But the thing is, you've got to execute. I see so many people, Bradley, that do different courses or watch different YouTube videos, and they still haven't actually launched a product. You know, I have a student in the Freedom Ticket now that took it years ago when it first came out, and she still hasn't launched her product. So I actually told her on the Q&A calls on the Freedom Ticket Extra, I said, I'm not answering any more of your questions. That's it. She actually asked a question, and I was like, sorry, no more. Until you launch your product, no more questions. And she's like, oh, Kevin, but I was like, no, you've been here. You got to execute. So you guys have the power. You have the knowledge. You got to go out there and do it. And if you can't succeed unless you try, if you don't try, nothing's going to happen. So you got to go out there and execute. Get your feet wet. Start doing some of this stuff, and see what happens. Now, your first product, it may not work. You might lose a little bit of money. But you're going to learn so much information. Or your first product, if you really follow what I've been saying, you may hit it and be just so thrilled. You know, I have some students that are doing 6 and 7 figures now that are doing really, really well. You know, I don't like to throw those numbers out or brag. It's that I just like to keep my head down and teach people. But there's really successful people, and I hope I've given you that information. And beyond just the course, you know, once you get out there and you learn this. You want to network, you want to get in these groups, like you said, listen to the podcast. If you can go to some of the events, there's different events around out there every year for Amazon sellers where you can network with other people that speak your language. You know, sometimes when you're at home, you're talking to your wife or your husband, or they're just looking at you like, enough of this stuff, I don't want to hear it anymore. You go to one of these events, all people want to talk about is Amazon, and what's the latest strategies and what's working, and you're around other people and you're extending your knowledge. I still, to this day, I'm not just teaching this stuff, I'm still learning. I'm listening to tons of podcasts. I'm going to events. I'm going to masterminds. I believe when you stop learning, you stop earning. And so that when you stop learning, you stop earning. So no matter how successful you are, you still got to keep learning. You still got to stay on top of the game. And so I just implore you to take this information and do something with it. Actually make something and give it a try and see what happens. Now next week, we're actually going to be showing you how to launch your product. Next week, we're going to go through all the steps of like how to set up giveaways and coupons and launching and PPC. So it's going to be a little bit more technical and a little bit more math, but that's the critical part. You've got all the basics now in place, and the last final component, you're almost there. You're almost at the end game. You're going to know exactly how to get your product in front of the right people on Amazon and hopefully launch it straight to page 1 and be on your way to that freedom that you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So definitely keep taking in this information. Go to those outside sources that we've talked about. Most of those are free. So, I mean, free knowledge is great, but you have to have a fire in your belly, all right? You have to have a fire, a passion for what you're doing. Otherwise, you might end up like the student that Kevin talked about that just, you know, keeps taking this knowledge but never actually does anything. So get that fire, get that burning desire. If that's too dramatic for you, all right? Get that burning desire to really want to crush it on Amazon, and that's going to put you in the best opportunity to do so. So I hope you guys like this nugget video, and hope you enjoyed the next week's modules.
We'll see you again soon.